Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Againi Titan. I'm going to say something that I never thought that I would say when I started YouTubing about World of Tanks. I'm showing two videos this time. I'm going to kind of edit them and compress them down a little bit. One of them is quite a short game, but I've included it as a second game because I've got a boring ace tanker game. I was in my M26 Pershing, and I managed to get an ace tanker game and a second mark of excellence on the Kasserine map. Now, I was expecting to get the second mark of excellence. I was so close that I knew if I had any kind of a decent performance, I was going to get the second mark of excellence. But I was rather surprised to get an ace tanker. So I would recommend that if you want to get an ace tanker on a handily and you happen to have an M26 Pershing fully upgraded in your garage with a decent crew, now's your chance. Get out there and get about 1700 XP and you will get an ace tanker. So I've decided to include this as a kind of a bonus video. The whole thing is still within 15 minutes, so I should be able to upload it in a reasonable amount of time without killing my internet for 24 hours. And in this case we're here on on Sand River, and this game actually highlights something as well that's been bugging me. I've been playing the Walker Bulldog today for the first time really since it was, well, it's not the first time. I've had a few games in it while I was running the Pershing. I've managed to elite the Pershing as well, so I've now unlocked the pattern. However, I'm not in a position, or I'm not ready yet to transfer the crew. I want to complete the current skill. But this particular game is highlighting something else, which is something's going on at the moment, really noticeably in the last day or two, at least for me. I hadn't noticed it as strongly, but I'm really noticing it now that I'm playing the Bulldog, which is people are not shooting at tanks that you're highlighting. You can spot tanks, you can spot them for quite extended periods of time. But nobody's going into the kind of camping spots, the locations where if you have a good long range accurate gun, usually with tank destroyers and a stealthy tank, preferably with tank destroyers, where you would get a lot of fire on enemy tanks. For instance, behind me, that tank destroyer that's at J1, J2, if he was actually at G1 or H1, H2 or the intersection there, the two of them, he would be able to shoot a lot of the tanks that I'm highlighting, both in front of me and also across the way. Well, maybe not the ones across the way, but the ones that are across the way, say the heavy tanks up at C6, C7, when those guys cross out into the road like the VK4502B has just now, if that tank destroyer was back up at G1, he would now be in a position to see that, and he would also be able to see the VK101P, and he'd be able to shoot them. And they are massive bags of hit points, and more to the point, if he was in that location, that he would be able to shoot them and they would not be able to see him, because they have no scout down in a position to see him. They'd need to be near where I am, or in our own cap circle area. Now there's a scout entering, but he's going to die because he's gone in there on his own without support. He's too far ahead of his teammates. But while I am giving out about tanks, that tank destroyer at A1 is also in a useless location, and for that matter the light tank going after the artillery should have taken out the guy in A1 first. He can't shoot anybody from there until they are on top of him, and when they're on top of him he will die. The only reason the light tank hasn't killed him is because the light tank was fixated on killing the artillery. Now if that light tank had come along the back of the dune and decided to take out the tank destroyer first, he would have done so, and he could then have gone after the artillery, and he'd only have one tank destroyer to worry about. And he could probably have taken out that tank destroyer too if he actually played a little bit carefully. The T-32's antics up here just made me laugh. That rocking back and forth isn't going to do him any good when somebody's shooting at him from the side. But a 50-60 ton tank, I'm not sure what the weight of a T-32 is supposed to be, but that would do some amazing stuff to the suspension of the tank in real world. However, our team are now capping, and that's another thing about this game. the enemy team didn't really react to the fact that our guys were approaching their cap circle at all. So we were able to cap out despite the fact that they were now controlling our cap area. And we weren't doing anything about it either. So that netted me a third class mastery. But it's a third class mastery where I got a fair for effect. But only got 1500 assisted damage. Now, it got me top of the table. But you would have expected more from the number of tanks that I was observing at various times. That I would get a lot more spotting damage. And there was a time when you used to, so people are playing differently, and I'm not too sure. They're playing less intelligently, if anything. Everybody just seems to be pushing forward as aggressively as possible, but it's kind of a mindless aggression. I don't know, it's just a phase. Now that said, this game seems to go through a different phase. The meta in the console version just changes constantly, and it goes through different phases every 3 months or so. Now we're back to the purging on Kasserine, standard battle, and this is the Ace Tanker game. I'm bottom tier, and I decided because I was bottom tier, I said I'd go scout the western side of the map. Now I didn't expect the amount of company I got, and I'm speeding up the first part of the video because essentially nothing happens. But I'm out here with 2 top tier heavy tanks, which I think is a bit silly for top tier heavy tanks. I mean, I know it worked out well for us, but it's not the optimal, which is one of the reasons why I'm kind of going as close to the centre of the map as I dare, because I'm actually hoping to spot something to drag those heavy tanks into the fight. I wanted to be in a position where I could escape, but still spot stuff and still have the opportunity of dragging these tanks, like I said, into the fight. And as a T1 to NE5, so the enemy team have obviously driven up the wadi, and T1 to NE5 has popped out there just wondering what's going on, and he's got utterly annihilated for his troubles. And there's another one further up, pulling a similar stunt. Now I pause and hang around this location for a small bit because I'm kind of waiting for those heavies that were behind me to get a little bit closer before I push on any further. The trouble with their current location is they're in low ground, so I could spot stuff here, now, this instant, and they are not in a position to shoot it because there's rock walls and ridges between them and me. But I didn't spot anything, so I'm getting a little bit braver because I still have the opportunity of pulling back into low ground if I do spot something, and they're still catching up, or they're now parallel with my position. So now I can advance into the enemy base area and see if I spot anything. Because so far it's been a very quiet match. And I was, like I said, hoping. I knew when I coming into this match that I was so close. I was like 84.47 or something like that on the damage standing. So I knew any kind of a decent game, anywhere around the 2k damage, would probably have done to push me over the limit, like, you know, because I wouldn't actually lose that much. Anything that pushed me over the limit. So at the moment I'm well behind, and that snapshot didn't help. But when I hit the Rheinmetall Borzig, he actually reverses course, which gives me a chance to put some more damage into him. I think the fact that I was undetected was throwing him off, and that he was thinking that he was taking fire from the other side. I don't think he quite realised that he was taking fire from the rear. Now I get spotted. I'm not sure whether it's by the WG111 whatever or the Borzig spotting me. But the Borzig doesn't seem to be paying, or the WZ doesn't seem to be paying me any much attention. Certainly no shot has come in my direction. And I'm no longer spotted, so I pull out, so he's not picking me up, so it obviously wasn't him. So I put a round into him. I had to use the good stuff because I had bounced 2 shots before off him, and the second shot spots me. Now that is probably because the Borzig has popped out. He's bounced one off the side of the turret. So I wait for a while and he backs out. Didn't quite get the gun clear, and I managed to shoot him again and do some more damage. But I don't think there's enough showing, and the angle is probably a little bit too much, and I'm not actually getting any further penetrating shots. So I move on. My plan was that I would try and get on to the other wadi that's radiating there out in front of me, to get onto the flank of that Borsig, because he's in there. I know where he is, but then this T110E5 pops up, and we have a heavy tank near the cap circle, so I thought, alright, I'll hang back and I'll assist him. We've got him in a crossfire. Now, if he went around the back of the village, he could probably engage the heavy tank without taking too much fire from me, and that's what it looks like he's doing. However, then he changes his mind and he comes into the centre of the village, and well, I bounced that one off the front of him, but he doesn't take any further notice of me. I mean, just because I'm a tier 8 doesn't mean that I can't hurt him, especially if you show me your side. And we put a round into him. He's now facing two tanks in the open, which there was no need for him to do. He could have actually stayed back, or he could have come down the wadi there underneath the bridge where the Borsig is. And you can cover the cap circle from that location. I've done it myself, and he would prevent any of our team members from capping without exposing himself to any risk or hazard from the rest of the map. The only tank that would be in a position to hazard him from a flank would be myself. And if I go into the wadi to face off a T110E5, I would be doing it on my own. I wouldn't be getting support from the two tanks in the cap circle, because it's low ground, so unless they came up and engaged with him, it would be suicide for me to actually have done it. At this point, it's game over pretty much. There's just the IS-4 remaining. Now I attempted a long range shot from here. It's chancy against an IS-4, that one dropped short. Try another one, blind shot against his location, but that may have gone over, or he may not have been there. So I push forward because I think I'm the only one in a position to actually spot him. However, now I'm in low ground, so I actually don't have a decent shot. Guys behind me do, because they're actually at a more elevated location, and I'm getting the credit for spotting them. That was just a snapshot against the turret. Again, it wouldn't have had much of a chance. Then he decides to come over the hill and come after me. Fires one shot at me, misses, and then he decides he's going to take on that E75, a full health E75, with a third health IS-4, and simultaneously fighting a tier 8 Pershing tanks, medium tank behind him. This ends pretty much as you would expect it. But then again, that kind of stuff often happens at the end of the game. I think sometimes people just give up and they just want to get it over with. If they don't think they can actually take somebody out or take somebody with them. But got my 2 marks of mastery, and much to my surprise, I also got an ace tanker. Now I did a respectable amount of damage, 2,105. I think it's pretty good for a tier 8 medium tank, but I didn't get much assist. 630 is small enough. I only got 4 ribbons. Came first by experience, but I got 1649 experience, which is well, I've had ace tankers that were lower on some tanks, but that is actually not bad, and I think now is a good chance for you to keep your ace tanker on your Pershing if you happen to have one, with a halfway decent crew. So I hope you found that video interesting, and if you did, please give the video a like. If you haven't already done so, please give the channel a subscription. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you again soon. Bye.